Hello, folks out there in TV land. It's Marianne Goulart, and we're here for a new edition of Out and About, the show that takes you into Fall River to what's happening in cultural and arts events. Now, Happy New Year. I guess I'm a little belated in saying it, but I hope that you all had a wonderful celebration and we're off into a new year. So raise your hand, boys and girls. How many of you make resolutions? I do. Well, I sort of kind of have given up on the exercise more and lose weight ones. I'm more into the declutter and simplify my life resolutions. So that's what I'm into now. But one thing I don't ever want to get rid of are memories of childhood. And I think that some of you out there probably have the same experience of playing dress up and being in school plays or church Christmas pageants or things like that. I know when I was small, I used to gather all my neighbors on Boyden Street. I would grab all kinds of old socks and buttons and different things, pieces of yarn, and I'd make puppets. And I'd force my poor neighbors to come over to numerous puppet shows that they had to sit through. So I guess everybody has that little playfulness in them, and we're lucky, very lucky in Fall River to have an outlet where adults can still play. They can dress up, they can be somebody else, they can do the things maybe that they dreamed to do or didn't feel they had the courage to do in real life. So I'm honored today to bring to you some members of the Little Theater of Fall River. Fall River is extremely lucky to have one of the oldest theater groups, I think, in the nation, if I'm correct. So without further ado, let's be here now. I'd like to introduce to you John Nunes, president of Little Theater.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Kathy Castro, who is our publicity chair and also director of the upcoming show, Doubt.
Hello.
Beverly Robinson, who is business manager of Little Theater and will be stage managing Spamalot in May.
Hi.
And Roberto S.C. Soares, who is a multitasking guy. He's a set designer, he's a graphic designer. He will be directing One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in March. He will be assisting the director in Spamalot, and he will be co-directing the fall 2014 blockbuster Les Miserables. So how exciting for that. So welcome, everybody. How are you?
Wonderful to be here.
I'm very well, thank you. John, I'm wondering if you could tell our home audience a little bit about the history of Fall River, Little Theater of Fall River.
Sure. Little Theater has been around since 1935. This is our 79th year of consecutive theater here in Little Fall River. So we don't stop. We do main stage shows at BCC. We do our Firebarn shows over at the Little Firebarn on the corner of Prospect and Highland Avenue. So we are nonstop. We keep going every day.
That's wonderful. I know that the Firebarn Theater is probably one of the most comfortable theaters I've ever been to. Sometimes you go to a theater and you're just jammed into a seat, but when you're at the Firebarn, you're up on a riser, so every view is good. The seats are nice and wide.
It's very roomy in there.
for comfort, and they're really comfy. So it's a wonderful experience out there. It really, really is. Now, what's your current membership, for example, of Little Theater?
Currently, we have about 175 members. Most of them are very active, so we do have a very active membership at Little Theater.
Excellent. And now, besides plays, do you do anything else in the community?
We do. We actually just finished in December doing DCF fundraiser drive for toys. We work at a soup kitchen, Sacred Heart Soup Kitchen. We are out and about in the community. Sometimes we work with the Historical Society. So we're out and about doing stuff with everybody, branching out our organizations.
It's wonderful, really. I know that when I attended Steel Magnolias, there was actually an information table set up in the lobby by the Diabetes Association,
yes, exactly.
I think. And my mother, who is, hi Mom, my mother, who was with me, actually signed up to be an organ donor right there in the lobby.
Right.
So that was quite something that she was able to do that, because she had never, not having a license, she was never able to do that prior to that occasion. So that was really a wonderful.
Right, with different shows, we kind of branch out. We have different organizations come in, and if they have something that has to do with the show, we have them set up in the lobby and work with us, and they get information out to the community.
Wonderful. I remember a few years back, I attended a show, I think it was Sylvia, and about the human dog or whatever. It was kind of a crazy show. And in the lobby was some
I think we had both Forever Paws.
Forever Paws and Faxon.
and
Yeah,
Faxon,
sure,
yeah,
I remember that. So
exactly.
that's really kind of neat that
It is.
it's not just about yourselves and it's not just about theater, it's about how you can be part of the community. That's wonderful. Now I'm sure people wonder how your shows are selected. How does that happen? How do you pick the shows?
Well, with our main stage season, we actually have a whole committee of directors, board members, and actual members of the theater. And they discuss different shows that they'd like to see, that people would like to come and watch. So then we reach out to the directors, explain to them what shows we have up, and then directors will either submit a proposal that they want to direct the show or they would rather not. And then once that's all set, then we bring it to the membership and they actually vote for our upcoming season.
So it's very democratic then. It's the members who actually select what shows go up too. And your Fire Barn Theater, is that run the same way?
No, Fire Barn Theater is actually, what happens is I, as the president, will send out an all call to directors, and they will submit proposals for our Fire Barn season. And then if they want to do it, we send the proposal, and then the board actually votes on the Fire Barn shows.
And your season for the Fire Barn generally runs in the summer and then perhaps a couple in the winter?
Generally, we run June, July, August, and January, but this season we're running June, July, and we're skipping August, and we're doing a Christmas show this year, and then we'll have a show in January.
Wonderful. And I bet that has a little bit to do with the big blockbuster coming in fall.
Right, that's one of the reasons we're doing that.
2014.
Just for rehearsal space and time constraints, we need to have August available for Les Mis.
Excellent. Now, Bev, I bet there's a whole bunch of things that need to be done when a show is selected, correct? So.
Oh yes, as a stage manager, you really need to be organized, and of course people have told me for years that I'm too organized, but it works for stage manager land. And so yes, so I'm really good at making lists and keeping people organized, and
sending for the rights.
and right, we have to. There's a lot of things that have to be done. Finding the people to work on the shows, and very fortunate though I am stage managing both Monty Python Spamalot and Les Mis, but I'm not doing it on my own. I have Carrie Collins, who is a very capable stage manager as well, so we're doing it together.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Now, people at home, my lovely TV Land audience, you may wonder why I have a cross, a nest, and a can of Spam. Can you put these all together? Well, sort of you can, but maybe not as well. So we're going to tell you a little bit about Little Theater's upcoming season and some shows that I'm sure you would love to attend and see what's going on. So let's start, let's see, with our next show coming up, which will be at the Fire Barn Theater, coming up soon, this month actually, in January. So Kathy, you're director of that show.
Yes.
Now, it is a very controversial and thought-provoking play in some respects.
It is.
What drew you to select this particular play to direct?
Well, I saw the movie in 2008 that was had many nominations for Academy Awards, and I just think it's a great show. And one of the greatest things about it is that the writer intends, John Patrick Shanley, that you leave the theater in doubt. He really doesn't want people to leave with an idea of either way, if that can be accomplished. So it's a bit of a challenge. I have a great cast. I couldn't be happier with the cast. So that, and of course, the subject matter, which is so very interesting.
And controversial.
And
of
controversial,
course.
yes, it is. Coming on the heels of so many I don't know quite how to term it, but charges or incidences of bad behavior within the priesthood, and so it's a great show. It's what I look for in a show is a well-written script, and this is terrific. 52 pages, 90 minutes, 4 characters.
So is it a one-act show?
It's a one-act show.
Okay, so people would know that when they're going to the fire.
That's
It's
right.
a one-act show. Now, I think your last directorial event was
A Few Good Men. Right. Well, I also did Aquarius in that interim time, the musical.
A music review.
Right,
but
yeah.
your drama play, and that
Right.
was wonderful.
Thank you.
Really, really wonderful.
Well, it's the same thing, great
But
script.
again, very, very
Yeah,
thought-provoking
intense. Yes,
and
it is,
intense
right,
and
yeah.
serious. So, no comedies for you.
Well, you never know. You never know. Not yet. Not yet. Another one that, as you know, I'd love to do is To Kill a Mockingbird, which is again another thought-provoking and something that leaves the audience thinking when they leave, and I like that idea. Yeah.
Now, after going through the whole rehearsal process that you've been doing, do you have an opinion at the end? You
I
want
do.
the audience to leave in doubt, but you don't have to tell us. But
No,
do you have...
I do have an opinion. Yes, I do. Yeah,
okay.
and people may have an opinion. I just hope they don't marry it. I
Yeah.
hope that they're
Because
flexible with their thoughts about it, because that's important.
Yeah, during the
Yeah.
rehearsal process, you've heard the script many times.
Many
so I
times.
bet you hear things that probably when an audience member hears it just once, they don't get everything that you might have gotten out of it, because after hearing it over and over and say, oh yeah, maybe that's what happened, or
Well,
maybe that's true.
Dave Pizzelli, who's playing Father Flynn and is new to Little Theater, it's the first show that he's done here. Actually, he's from Franklin, Mass. Said that he had seen an interview with Philip Seymour Hoffman, who played the role in the film, and he said that up until a certain point in time, he had a particular view about it, and he said the character at one point bit his nail, and he said that at that point he completely changed his mind about how he felt.
Isn't that
That was
something?
that one little giveaway there that made him, but it's that intricate, which I think is good.
That's really something. And here is the beautifully designed poster
Yes.
by Roberto of your show, which is happening this month. So that's really
January 16th through the 26th, so please come. And I'm hoping on 2 of the evenings to have a talk back after
Oh,
the show. I'm
that's
hoping to
always-
do that on the Saturday nights
That's always interesting.
with someone
to do.
possibly from BCC
Oh,
to host that. Yeah.
very nice. So that's January this
Right.
month. Coming up in March, we have probably the most well-known out of the plays that we have represented here because of the iconic 70s movie, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, starring the wacky and zany
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson. So now, Roberto, when you selected this show, did you have anything special in mind, and will it be similar to the movie?
It's similar to the movie in the way that the plot is constructed. It's the same story. The characterizations of Nurse Ratched and Randall McMurphy in the movie are more cerebral. You can't play that kind of monotone, action on stage. So I don't think Louise Fletcher moves her face once in the course of the movie. You can't do that on stage. So my characterizations of those two characters is different from the movie, the way I see it. Of course, there are scenes in the movie like the boat trip and stuff like that, which you can't
That
do
are
on
out.
stage.
Although I've heard that you manage some pretty crazy things on stage. So.
Yeah. I don't know the meaning of the word "you can't do that," but my choosing of the show, I was in the production that Little Theater did about 20 years ago. I played Mr. Harding, and I've always loved the script. The struggle between the authoritarian attitude of Nurse Ratched and the free-spirited joy of McMurphy, and how they clash constantly over the patients and how the patients should be treated. And I've always loved that argument of in just life in general between authority and free spirit. I, of course, fall on the free spirit side.
Me too.
But that's what draws me to the script. But I chose the script basically because of what John was saying. The directors get together and they talk about plays that are interesting or that might, want to do it. And I believe it was Kathy that brought up Cuckoo's Nest. And my first thought was, yeah, I could direct that. And so it was. I put in to direct it, and it began.
And I think that most people have seen that movie. That's a movie that people have seen, so they have a very, very definite idea of who Randall McMurphy is.
Right.
Will you stay somewhat close to that?
Well,
Or,
somewhat
you
close.
said
I mean,
it's, you can't actually be that cerebral,
Right.
but
The rebel in McMurphy comes across in the script very much so. Also, I think it's Milos Forman who directed the film. He likes to do improvisation, so the actors improvise a lot, and I noticed that in the film. There's of course none of that in the script. They stay to the lines. But as far as the characters are concerned, I mean, McMurphy's freedom and joy of life and hustle, because he's constantly hustling the patients and trying to con them out of this and that, is certainly part of the script.
Yes.
But the script is more based on the novel, which came before the film. And it's seen through the eyes of the Indian, Bromden, who basically is telling the story of what's going on.
So was it Ken Kelsey who was the author of?
Ken Kelsey wrote the original novel, which
original.
I've read just to get a more balanced view of the whole thing. And it is different from the movie as well.
Now, I remember having seen the play. There's quite a lot of tough language, right?
It's
should
it's salty.
we warn
It's
our
salty.
audience that if you're delicate with language, that
Well-
be forewarned?
McMurphy is a backroom bar brawler and con man and cowboy and hustler, and I mean he's not going to say golly gosh and gee willikers.
Okay. Do you ever have any actors who are afraid to say the swear words? I mean, anybody, any director here, like, are reticent to do that, or do they just jump right in and
We have had occasionally
Yeah, a few times.
someone who just say,
can't do
I
it?
won't do
Yeah,
that.
Can't do it, sure. I bet all the moms and dads of the actors that were sitting in the audience go, oh,
yeah,
no.
sometimes that has happened.
That's the word I told them not,
Not
to ever say when they were growing up. So that's really kind of fun.
But it's usually in the full context of
Sure,
the show.
yeah,
So it's,
sure.
yeah.
Do you think that this day and age people still get offended by that when it's so much out there, in song and even on TV now? Is the shock value somewhat diminished?
I don't think it's quite what it used to be.
Yeah.
No, but there's still a few people
But
out
still,
there that
yeah.
kind of.
That might be a little
shocked.
So will you be putting a warning, a disclaimer on your poster about?
I don't
Well,
think
it's
it's
an
that.
adult.
It's an adult play,
It is
and I
adult,
don't think it's that much of it's. Most of it is in the beginning of the script, is where a lot of that happens. A lot of four-letter words get said in the beginning of the script. After that, it really does tame down because the play focuses on the issues and doesn't want to distract with the language.
So it gently moves along.
It gently
then.
moves
Very
along.
nice.
Well,
Not gently,
Maybe
not
not
gently. It moves along.
It moves along. but,
Now, Beverly, we're very fortunate, really, with the timing of Spamalot because the Monty Python cast, that crazy bunch of funny
Or
walkers,
whatever.
silly walkers, whatever they are, the ministers of silly walks, are having a reunion this summer. And there's going to be some wonderful preliminary publicity for that, I'm sure. And Spamalot may not be a show that most people are familiar with. Could you tell us a little bit about it, please?
Well, as the publisher has called it, it's saying it's lovingly ripped off from the classic film Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And it's retelling the legend of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. Has beautiful showgirls and cows and killer rabbits and French people. So it's, King Arthur is trying to round up knights for his round table and his quest for the Holy Grail. However, Camelot looks a lot like Las Vegas, and the knights want Arthur to put on a musical and bring it to Broadway.
Well, he should, of
so
course.
this, gives you an idea. It's extremely funny and silly. But the comedy, I think, is very smart. I like to call it intelligent slapstick. I mean, personally, I'm not a fan of slapstick. But when I saw Spamalot, I said, this is really good because it's got an intelligence to it, even though it is so silly. Like this song lyrics, like for example, one of the songs is called "The Song That Goes Like This," and it's got lyrics like, "You're singing far too loud," or "You're standing on my foot," or things like that, or the Diva's Lament, or "Whatever Happened to My Part." Has the Lady of the Lake who's complaining that she's been off stage for far too long. And then Arthur singing, "I'm all alone." And meanwhile, his horse and servant, Patsy, is right there beside him, has been there all along, and he's singing, "Oh no, you're not alone." So it's that kind of a wonderful, funny, happy kind of a show. It's written for 22 characters, but where our cast is approximately 35 or so, because as a community theater, whenever we can, we try to be as inclusive as possible.
Sure.
So it'll be a fun time for all, I'm sure.
So you just brought something up that was very interesting. Can anyone go to audition? You don't have to be a little theater member to audition. Anyone from the community
Absolutely not.
can go?
We always have open auditions. Everyone is welcome to come to auditions. And over the years, I mean, I've been a Little Theater member for almost 50 years now, and over the years, you know, we've gained some wonderful people who have just come in off the street. I mean, in some cases, they've come in for one show and they've been wonderful, and we never saw them again, but they provided something great to whatever show we were doing. And other times, they come in and they stay. So it's you know, we're welcoming to everyone.
Just a little personal story about Spamalot. The only time I've ever seen the play Spamalot done live was when I was in Germany.
Okay.
And it was all in German. But it is so slapstick and so visual. I mean, I had seen it on TV. You know, there was some kind of broadcast of the play on TV. So I knew the music and I knew what they were saying. But it even worked in German. You know, I didn't understand one word. Although they sang one line in English in the whole song. Can you guess? What's that? What do you think that show would be? Always look on the bright side of life. So I mean, they're singing away in German, and then all of a sudden, always look on the. I don't know the melody of that particular one, but oh, I laughed. We had the best time. But just the costumes and the colors and. I mean, they're as you said, they're like
Rabbit
huge
puppets and fish
and flying cows and
Yes.
fish and dancing. I know they had dancing. It looked like Netherlands girls with trays with like big somethings in front of them. And it was just so delightful, even though I didn't understand a word. But it was great. So great timing. And does anyone out there eat Spam? I don't even know. I just
No.
Do you? Do you love Spam?
I hate Spam. Sorry, but I do.
Well, I know my dad used to slice it up and fry it up and put a lot of
Spam and
mustard,
eggs.
put it between 2 slices of sunbeam bread, and there was lunch. So
There you go.
anyway, I just brought this for a joke because it has nothing to do with Spam, TV audience, but it's just funny.
Well, you'll have to wait and
You'll have to wait and
Maybe.
see.
You never know.
You'll have to wait and see.
Or check the refreshment table in the lobby for fried Spam sandwiches, which may be very, very fun. Now, oh, my heart is like, oh, Les Miserables. Now, how, Roberto, even though it's in the future, can you tell us anything about that? Bev, can you I mean, you know, without giving too much, like,
Well,
how are you going to do it?
it's a huge undertaking. It's
It
a
is.
massive undertaking. It's very exciting to see a project that big and to dive into it. I'll be co-directing it with Debbie Sadler, and Robbie Burke will be assisting us, and Bev is stage managing. We have a huge crew of costumers and props people and that are going to help us with this. Of course, there's the barricade to build, and the
Sure.
bridge, and
So much.
the garden gate, and it's a massive production, which is why it's good to know that we're doing it now, because we can start planning this early. It's not the kind of show, we know our shows within a few months or within that year. To know that this one is coming so far in advance is almost necessary. But there isn't much you can do with it. I mean, it is what it is. It has a following, it has a fan base, so we really do have to reproduce Les Mis on the stage. We have to do it.
So you're basically staying formula, traditional.
Very
You're
true
not
to-
doing
very true.
anything like wild crazy out there.
No, I'm not doing pink barricade or anything like that. No, we're sticking very much to the production. It would be a disservice to the audience not to. The only difference is the revolving stage. We can't use the revolving stage. It's part of the agreement with the
see.
licensing company that the revolving stage not be used.
So they save that piece for
Right,
Broadway
for tours
or
and
wherever
for
they're
Broadway
going,
tours.
the tours.
So we have to come up with a way of having that movement from scene to scene, that consistency in all of that. So that has to be part of how we direct it and how we design it,
Wow.
so that you get that flow.
Right, because I think all of us who are on the team are of the opinion that we want it to move.
As an audience member, the worst thing I hate is to sit there while we're waiting
For the set change.
sets to change.
The next thing to
or
happen,
somebody
sure.
move. And I mean, all of the shows that I've been a part of, I've been fortunate that the directors that I've worked with we're all on the same page. How can we just keep this moving for everyone to keep it going and keep everyone, engaged in what's going on? Because you don't want to have a letdown in between.
Sure, a lot of time. Big cast?
Well, we're looking at, again, because of being community theater and because of wanting to be inclusive, I've done some big shows in the past. I did Superstar and Jesus Christ Superstar, and I did Miss Saigon. And my favorite number is 50. I like to work with 50 people. It fills the stage nicely without overfilling it. And it still gives the opportunity to give roles to people in choruses and all of that so that people can be part of it. And instead of having every single person in every single number, you pick 8 people for this number and 8 people for that number. That way you don't have massive costume changes backstage and nightmares of mayhem in backstage. So 50 is going to be the number that we're aiming for.
Now, you just mentioned costumes. Who does everything? Who builds the sets? Who makes the costumes? Do you pay people to come in? What happens? I mean, how do you costume a show with 50, 60 people? Who does that?
Well, we now have a great help for us for not very much money, which is the Stage Factory,
Ah,
of
yes,
which
it's a-
Fernando Goulart is part of that, and they are putting our set together for Doubt. I found something that I loved, and with a few little changes, we were able to bring it into. We will be able to bring it into the Firebarn.
Nice.
And I just as an example, I bring in a friend who helps with sewing, and she'll be doing the costumes because we do want them to be authentic of the Sisters of Charity. I know that there are some organizations that have used a different nun's habit, but we're using the original, the authentic habit. So I think that in following up with what Bevan and Roberto have had to say too, that places like PPAC and Trinity and what we have going on in the area, we need to continually be kicking our performances up a notch, and I think we do, and I think we're very well aware of that. That audiences come in today expecting to see something very good, and that's our goal, is to provide that.
I mean, it truly takes a village to put on
I
this.
can
It does.
imagine.
Oh,
And I mean,
yeah.
it's volunteer. We're all volunteers. We don't get paid. We do this for fun.
And I think we utilize,
I can see.
I'm sure they're
I get a
wondering.
lot of sleepless nights.
Oh yeah.
And we utilize a lot of different ways
Yeah.
depending on the particular show. I mean, we certainly have situations where, for example, last season I was a stage manager on Titanic, and for Titanic, we rented almost all of the costumes because these were, we wanted the right uniforms, we wanted the right period, we wanted all of that, and so we opted to go the route of renting it. A few years ago, when we did Beauty and the Beast, we did more of internally, like we have one of our members, Aaron Gendro-Visco, who is a wonderful costume designer and costume builder, et cetera, who did, absolutely gorgeous costumes for it. And same thing with props. Sometimes we've borrowed from other theater groups in the area, or we have, we're very fortunate that we have our own space, our own Firebarn space, so that we do have ability to have some storage of things. So it's a whole combination, and it's not uncommon for those of us in the group to be sitting in the audience and say, okay, that came from my house, or that used to be in my house.
Excellent.
And so it's all different things coming together that whatever works for the particular show.
What you do for the community is an amazing thing. You have affordable prices, you have a quality product, you put on beautiful shows, you give people the opportunity to come out and to play if they want to, because it's open to anyone who would like to go there and to give it a try.
Marion, I just wanted to quickly add the fact that we are most grateful to for our area sponsors who help to make these shows happen.
Excellent.
Bay Coast Bank and Bank 5, and we've also had Coastal Orthopedics, and of course the Fall River Cultural Council. who have allowed us to rent some of these costumes that
Excellent.
we.
Thank you so much for being here. And folks at home, if you haven't made your resolution, you have to the end of January to do so, I guess. Please resolve to go out and see more live theater. And in this bleak midwinter month of January, I hope your hearts are warm and that you still find a time to take a cup of kindness yet. So until the next time, folks, cheers.